Our group did chapters 5 and 6, The Crisis Masked and Business as Usual. The main idea that was portrayed between both of these is that we are using water unwisely. Glennon introduces us to chapter 5 with a dramatic introduction that uses pathos to pull the reader in. Some of it is that when levees break, wells go dry, rivers peter out, taps sputter, pipes collapse, dams burst, power plants close, sewage overflows, pollution mushrooms, and so on. Even though it was a dramatic use of words, we have highlighted here some of the examples that he actually goes on in the rest of the chapter to give specific examples of. One of the main ideas of the chapter was that most Americans are either unempathetic about the current water crisis because the negative consequences are not directly affecting them. People don't believe that there could possibly be a water problem because they see water around them. However, only 0.8% of the water on Earth is usable as drinking water for sustenance. Here we have a picture of the water cycle. You learned about that in 6th grade or 5th grade. I'm just going to kind of go over what that has to do with this chapter. Here we see that there's a lot of water available, but most of it is unusable for humans. And even though the water cycle replenishes the water so that it can be usable, it takes a lot of time for this to happen. One of our quotes that we took from the chapter is on page 80, paragraph 2. This hydrologic cycle begs an important question. If our water supply is fixed and we can neither make nor destroy water, how can we run out? Water may not be where we want it, when we need it, in the form that we need. Another important concept was that as a country we are ignorant about our water, our unsustainable use of it, and in some cases. Lennon uses an interview with the director of the California Department of Water on page 78, paragraph 2. It says, recent surveys have shown that people don't have a clue where their water comes from. In this survey, most Southern Californians replied that water comes out of my tap. This lack of knowledge about where we get a very important natural resource that is being degraded and depleted could very well be the cause of unsustainable use.
Issues like money and politics get in the way of coming together to do something about our water. We can't depend on just our leaders to make the right decisions for us. We as a people must make the first move. The politicians will follow. On page 87, 18 children sent in letters to their governor, pleading that he save their local river. It's hard to know what action to take when you're a leader. Pumping water could be regulated to protect endangered species of fish. But that could lead to a decrease in loan money, which the farmers are dependent on. That could lead to a decrease in production, and thus the loss of many jobs. People who are in the know are very concerned about where and how they will be getting their water in the near future. Glennon ends at chapter 5 with this paragraph. It's like a punch in the face when you read it. A crisis is a decisive and crucial time, a moment when the ultimate ending remains in doubt, when action might avert catastrophe, a disastrous ending. Whether the water crisis will turn out benignly or will result in economic collapse, mass migrations, environmental devastation, and more bitter interstate battles depends on how we respond or fail to.
All right, so we did business as usual, chapter 6. The main arguments that were presented in chapter 6 were dams are harming the environment and are costly, and the use of wells needs to be better regulated throughout the United States in order to avoid loss of underground water. So watersheds have been completely changed because of dams. It has ruined canyons in the west and has caused change in water temperature in rivers, resulting in change of paths for fish, nutrients being trapped, changing the life in the river, species becoming extinct, and oxygen levels in reservoirs to go down. On page 107, Glennon discusses the problem with diversions of surface water. The bottom line is this. In most parts of the country, increasing withdrawals of surface water from rivers as a solution to water shortages would threaten public health and cause environmental degradation. Many of our rivers are already dead or on life support. In an article from the Modesto Bee titled, "We'll Need Dams If We're to Address Water Supply Woes," surface water storage and conservation are just two elements of the three-legged strategy to address California's growing water supply problems. Underground storage is the third. What they don't understand is that no one part of the solution will be enough. We're going to need all three. Here's a picture of Hetch Hetchy Valley before the dam was built. As you can see, there are a lot of habitats and rivers and waterfalls. And then this is an after the dam was built, and obviously it's full of water because now it's Hetch Hetchy Lake, and most of the water goes down to Southern California.
Chapter 6 also talked about wells. By using wells without any true regulations, our water resources are diminishing and are not able to replenish. Currently, states regulate the use of wells by either the reasonable use doctrine, which leaves it up to the people to decide how much reasonable is, or the right of capture, which means that as long as you can acquire it, it's yours. A major concern Glennon talks about is that excessive groundwater pumping has caused the grounds to collapse, rivers, lakes, and springs to dry up, and riparian habitat to die. This is a quote found on page 123. A quote from an article that Glennon mentions is sustainability assessment of water resource must take into account the fact that users are responsible for intensive development of groundwater. Regulations, institutions, and users' participation in management are urgently needed within an integrated water resource framework to safeguard benefits and to minimize and compensate social and environmental costs. This is a picture showing how much the altitude of land surface of the San Joaquin Valley has gone down since 1925.